Well, if you're in the NFT market and you didn't know the name Jack Butcher before this week, you sure as hell do now. It has been a monster week for all of his projects, checks, merge, El Pepin, whatever that one is. It's Jack Butcher's market. We're just playing it at this point. We'll dive into that, give a little bit more of a deep dive. Before we start up, please hit that like button, subscribe to our channel, head to FLOLiO.com for all of your portfolio management needs. Nothing we say is financial advice. We're just a couple guys who like to keep track of the markets. I tend to stay more on the NFT side. Kevin over there on the crypto side, but we give you a nice blend of everything. So, Kev, it's been a wild week for checks. I don't know if people are getting out over their skis a little bit. The sentiment that this is the next Squiggles, I've seen a lot. I think that's a pretty bold statement. But have you kind of been keeping up at all with what is going on with any of these Jack Butcher projects?
To the extent of like following it, I just see his name popping up all over, CT. It's all over Twitter. You see, tons of these images. I saw the floor price was running up pretty good on these checks. Yeah. I mean, the first time I ever heard of it was when you brought it up on the show. What was that? A week ago, 2 weeks ago? And now it's everywhere. So I definitely see the momentum behind this. I don't know if it's good or bad. I'm hoping you could tell me a little bit more about it and what you think.
Yeah, I'll give a bull and bear case, and for transparency, I have never owned any of these. I don't anticipate buying anytime soon because it has taken such a monumental run up. So for those who are just kind of like getting into what is going on here with checks, so checks is the work of Jack Butcher. He's become a very prominent member in the space. He's been around for a long time as far as like crypto goes. Art. So he's not like out of nowhere. He's been around for a while, pretty well respected guy. He dropped this open edition, and yeah, I agree with Ace. I'll get into that. He dropped this open edition, and it was a play on the Twitter verification that Elon Musk put out, where you could pay $8 to get your check. Okay, so each NFT has 80 checks. It's 8 by 10, so it's a nice square there. And there's going to be a burn mechanism with it. So like I said, about a month ago, he had an open edition, 16,000 of them, just over 16,000 sold for $8 a piece. And as of this recording, the floor is all the way up to 1.45 ETH right now, which is a price of $2,400. So it has done a 300x, not 300%. No, 300x in 1 month. Now, I'm not saying you should sell. I'm not saying you should buy. All I'm saying is if I was holding some of these for mint and I had gone up 300x in 1 month, I would probably go ahead and take some profit. I've been around the NFT market long enough. I've been around markets in general long enough to know that like at some point you got to take profit. Could this go up to 2 ETH? I've heard some wild claims of 5 to 10 ETH. So let me give more background before we kind of get into the bull and the bear case. So there's going to be a kind of like a merge burn mechanism where you have each one has the 80 checks on it. You'll be able to burn 2 of those to get an NFT that has 40 checks on it. And he's going to keep reducing with each burn. There's going to be a reduction in the number of checks on each NFT. The grand goal of all of it is for the black check, where it's just one single black check on the NFT. Only 3 of those can exist because it's going to take burning a total of 4,096 of these current checks. So there have been DAOs started where people are having like joint accounts where they're loading up on checks to try to burn and acquire one of these single black checks. There's been a lot of game theory. There's some people saying that holding the original one, when all the burns happen, is going to be more rare than some of the merged ones. A lot of speculation, a lot of game theory, a lot of hype. And, for me, the bull case is that this is something, there's been very transparent from the jump of like, this is an art experiment. This is kind of a social experiment. This is not a utility NFT. There are no future airdrops that you're going to get from holding this. There's no access to a club. Like there's nothing. It is just purely for the art side of things. And, we've seen success from that long term, right? Like we've seen plenty of art, and I think comparing it to Squiggles right now is a bit ambitious. Squiggles being the first generative art NFTs created by Art Blocks, which is extremely well known. So to call them, on par with Squiggles, I think we need to give it a little bit more time. This has been out for all of a month. Let's pump the brakes a little bit here. But, the narrative around it that is, what is spaced around with Twitter and how Twitter has been impactful on NFTs and the check mark and all these things, I could see a little bit of a bull case for, long-term having some value. The bear case is the fact that there are 16,000 of these. There are only like 25% unique owners. There is an insane run-up that's happened already. Nothing is a straight line up. You can ask the people who bought Moonbirds at 30 ETH how they're feeling right now. Ask the people who bought Bored Apes at 150 ETH what they think of the up-only mentality when it comes to NFTs. List off any other successful NFT project. There's always been a pullback. So when I see people saying like, oh, this collection out of 16,000 is going to a 10 ETH floor in the next couple of months, maybe it does, and I think my internet is getting kind of crappy. Maybe it does go to a 10 ETH floor, but not before some kind of pullback. Like there's just, it can't go up only. So that's kind of my mentality around it. I have not bought these. I think it's, for the people who are enjoying it and who like the game theory. One thing that I'll say is very top-ish is I've heard multiple people say that they've sold mutant apes, or I heard one guy say he sold a CryptoPunk to buy a bunch of these things. And short term, they might look like a genius, but these are also people who aren't planning on selling, and or claim they're not planning on selling. And if that's your mentality going into it, that you're going to sell a CryptoPunk because you want to go after one of these checks, I don't see there being a world where checks are successful and CryptoPunks aren't. But I do see a world where CryptoPunks are successful and checks aren't. So I think that it's an incredibly risky play. I wouldn't do it. I haven't done it. Like I'm not going to go floor my CryptoPunk or my ape to buy some checks. But hey, no risk it, no biscuit, man. So that's kind of where I'm at with it. There are a few of his other collections that are older that are also seeing a pump. I would stay away from those. There's one called Merge that has seen a nice run up. He has stated that he is not touching Merge. He's doing nothing with that for like a decade. So if you're buying that now, and if you're loading up on that now, be prepared to wait it out. There's also another one called Opepin. It's about 16,000 NFTs as well. All the same art. A Pepe the Frog kind of derivative thing here. So I don't think that it's. I think people need to calm down on the FOMO a little bit. Like that's what we're seeing a lot of right now. And, don't jump into everything because of the top of the trending board on OpenSea. Like if you've gotten a win out of this, great, congratulations. Not trying to rain on your parade, but at some point this will pull back. It can't go up forever.
Apparently everything else in the market tends to go up forever. So why can't this, JWeb? But no, you made some really
bitter over there, Kevin.
No, let's put it this way. I'm only bitter because the number that came out today is very important to me, and 3.4% is not enough. But point is, you made some really good points, I think, about, not seeing a pullback. If things are going up, exponentially, you're going to see a pullback, and it's going to be a pretty strong pullback at that. So, and again, people are selling mutant apes, CryptoPunks. That just seems like a terrible play in terms of what, like, obviously people are doing the short-term play here, but long-term, I wouldn't have offloaded those at all. That seems like just a terrible idea to, almost speculate that this thing is going that high. I mean, how long has checks been around for? A few weeks, a month or so, something like that?
About a month,
yeah.
It minted in January, so it's been a month.
It's absolutely speculating that this thing's going to be the next Squiggles, or it's going to go to, 5, 10 ETH. Like, it's got to get to 2 week first, doesn't it? I mean, it's not there yet. It did a 300x, right? Not 300%, 300x. You said that's way
300x.
That is like boiling point.
That's a 30,000% increase. That is insane. So
it's like it's disgusting. That's a huge gain. If you're getting in now, it might be too late to the party. It sounds like.
If you're getting in now, you need to be prepared. Like because you think it's going to 5 ETH, you need to mentally be prepared for it going back down to 1 ETH. Like
Yeah.
I said, we've seen this all the time, and this could very well be one of those buy the rumors, sell the news situations where we know that a burn is coming at some point. People have been accumulating because of the burn, and when the burn gets announced of, hey, it's live, the floor could absolutely pull back. I'm not going to say it's going to tank, but it could definitely pull back. And we've seen it with everything, right?
Yeah.
Like how, I've been in Yuga for almost 2 years now. I sat through when apes went all the way up to 60 ETH before mutants and back down to 30. When they went up to 150 for other side and back down to, 55, 50. So it's going to pull back at some point. Trying to time the top and just hoping that it gets to 2. There's going to be resistance along the way. We're kind of seeing some of it now. Like it's still doing very well. It hit some resistance around like 1.65 ETH, 1.7. And it's recovering nicely. Like there's still a ton of activity on it. But I just think if you are buying in now, you need to switch your thought process because, the people who bought in at like 0.05 or 0.1 who've seen a huge gain, percentage wise, you're not going to see that same gain right now. So like you have to adjust your expectations to where it's like, okay, I'm not going to try to hold this for a few days to flip it. It might need to be a few weeks or a few months. So just that's how I would be approaching it if I was wanting to get in on the fun here. And honestly, if I was buying right now, I'd probably just be buying a few of them to burn and to be a part of this. And I wouldn't be looking at it from a flipping opportunity. And I'm not a very good flipper. So maybe just do the opposite of what I say. Who the hell knows?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I'm very excited to learn about this. And I don't think that we're going to see a 300x from where we currently are. Just from a trading point of view, doesn't seem very likely that your money's going to have to do a lot of work if you wanted to see some of those returns. Should have been $8.
Yeah, I think this also leads into a conversation of like learning from this from a trading standpoint in that, are we going to see anything else this year that does a 300x in this short of a time? Probably not, because I don't even know if we've seen anything, like it took apes a long time because they minted out for 0.08. It took them, they sat around, and they did a 5x in like a month. And that was back then, that was huge. Like that's about when I bought in. But, will we see something make a run like this? I'm not sure. But what we can learn, it was something that I've taken away from this as a signal and where I made a mistake by not buying was something is becoming relevant and is worth diving in deeper to and maybe just like buying into when others start to do derivatives of it. Because a few weeks ago, when these were sitting at like 0.25, we saw people doing all sorts of checks derivatives. It was like CryptoPunks, but little like the checks. It was all sorts of other things. And so I think that if you start to see that happen where people are trying to capitalize on that level of momentum, maybe it's a sign that there is still gains to be made from that standpoint. Because even if you would have bought in at 0.25, that's like a 6x in a couple weeks. Like you can't really get too upset with that one. So no, it's not a 30,000% gain, but it is a 600% gain. And I wouldn't mind one of those right about now.
Definitely. Yeah.
The market gives us clues, man, of, history doesn't repeat itself, but it does give us clues. And I think that's one to keep an eye on is if there's a project that starts to pick up some momentum and others are creating derivatives of it, maybe look at, stay away from the derivatives because I think all those derivatives are at zero now, but look at the original and is there more room for it to run? I think so. You just got to, if you're trying to trade it, you just got to keep tight windows of where you're looking to sell.
Yeah, definitely. It's always, I mean, you can't get too upset if you have some small exposure to some of these things, especially like you said, the derivatives thing could be a great indicator that, potentially you can make a little bit of money off of it. It's probably going to go up at some point because there's just so much hype around it or around the original piece that, people are giving attention to make some type of money. Again, derivatives are weird too, because it's like someone putting the amount of effort to create it. And at the same time, it's not the original project. There's like no value to it. They're just trying to make a quick buck. But still, that just shows that there is some momentum behind everything. And having light exposure to some of these things is never a bad idea. Like, imagine if you bought 2 apes when it was 0.08. Like having some exposure, nice.
Ace puts this out there. Have I told you my ape minting debacle, Kevin?
No, I don't think I've ever heard.
So I got into Top Shot in January of 2021. Around the time the apes were minting, Top Shot was going through a lull. I was spending more time on like NFT Twitter. I heard about apes. This was when I was brand new to NFTs. And so I didn't know how to use MetaMask. I was using my wallet security was terrible. I was using a Fortmatic wallet on my phone. I don't even know if that's a thing anymore. And I went to the Bored Ape website and I couldn't figure out how to mint them for 0.08. So I was on the site when they were minting and I couldn't figure it out. So I just gave up. And I bought my first one like a few weeks later for like 0.46. So I still got in early. I've still done incredibly well with apes, but I just look back and I had ETH loaded up and I was ready to buy a handful of apes for 0.08. And I just totally missed it because I didn't understand how to fucking use a wallet. Like to this day, it's going to haunt me probably for the rest of my life.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. I mean, I feel you because definitely the first time you're doing this, and obviously if you don't have any like experience trying to mint or just use wallet transactions, Ethereum, any blockchain, it's pretty intimidating. You don't want to lose money at the same time. You don't want to, I don't know. Sometimes it just doesn't work. You know what I mean? Sometimes sites just won't connect to the wallet. It depends on the site and the wallet itself. You have to do a ton of signatures. Like you had to go from MetaMask. Like you couldn't do it on mobile, and so I was just like, I don't know what I'm doing here, and I just said forget about it. And I'm just like, man, how much money did I miss out on there? But you know what? We don't dwell on the past. We are a forward-looking YouTube show here, and so we're going to keep moving forward, keep looking ahead. So we touched on Jack Butcher on checks. Really cool what they're doing. If you're buying in now, like I said, have a longer-term point of view, I think. As I look at the other top collections over the last week, we have some of the usual suspects. Sewer passes have pulled back a little bit. They got up to like 3.1. I sold one at like 2.9. I'm happy with that. It's at 2.46 now. Apes are there. Mutants are there. We have some of the memes by 6529 have seen a pretty big pullback. We talked about them before. A lot of those are down like more than 50% from their peak. I bought the only meme I have when it was at the peak, so very great play on my part there. Excited about that one for sure. So there's that. We have a kid called Beast, which there's been a lot of controversy around that one. They had a lot of issues minting out. They had their Twitter account hacked. So they saw a lot of technical issues right off the bat, which is not great for an NFT business to be having those sort of issues right away. So, and I've had some interactions that weren't the most positive with the founder. So I'm not a huge fan of a kid called Beast. So Ace is asking, do sewer passes have any utility other than the Dookie game? Yes. So the Dookie Dash game is almost over. There's 5 days left. When the game ends, the passes are going to be locked to their highest score from the wallet that they're in at that time. Then there's going to be a week where they verify the scores, make sure there was no cheating. And the passes are going to evolve. So we saw Yuga put out some stuff around mechs, and we know that at the end of this game, the sewer pass is going to evolve into a power source that is like the very first little mech. There's going to be a second game. We don't know any details of it yet. That's the next part of the story. Your score based on that will morph into the second evolution. Then there's going to be one more round of mini games, and that's what you're going to get your final mech from. They've also stated that you can turn your mech into an ape one, or if you also own a Bored Ape Kennel Club, you're going to be able to get a dog mech. So there's only 9,600 dogs, so there's probably going to be like a 2-to-1 ratio of ape to dog ones. So there's some rarity benefits there too. We don't know what the different mechs are going to be. I believe it's going to be part of a game that they have that they teased March of last year. So the sewer passes definitely have utility. Like spending 2.5 ETH to play one game, like that's just not true. They either don't know what they're talking about or they do, and they're just choosing not to be honest about it. But there are multiple games that you'll have access to through the sewer pass. Eventually, you're going to end up with a full-blown Yuga NFT that looks pretty badass based on the
previews they've put out. So I'm not saying you should buy one now. I honestly think the play and what I'm going to be looking to do, because I think people are going to not have super high scores when the scores are locked. They're going to dump some of the sewer passes that didn't have great scores, but I don't think that is the end all be all of it. I think you'll be able to improve on what you've minted. So I'm going to be looking at between February 8th when the score is locked and when the next part of the story takes place February 15th, accumulating some more if people are dumping them on the market, because I think long term they're going to regret doing that.
Not a bad strategy at all. Yeah, definitely. If you're thinking playing this long term, that seems like a pretty good opportunity to take advantage of people just giving up on Yuga and BAYC between now and then.
Yeah, and it's definitely a longer term one. Like I think this is probably like a 6 to 8 month story that's going to be playing out. And if you go, I'll just screen share real quick. But if you go and you look at the website, we can see that, the Dookie Dash game right here is just part of it. The game is going to end on February 8th. The next part of the story, the summoning, will begin the 15th. And then the story continues. And it says right up here, it's chapter 1. So we're just in like the prologue of all of this. This is just like the introduction to everything that's going on. And it's just one game. And there are more games to come. And that's why I'm also continue to be bullish on ApeCoin, because we've seen a lot of ApeCoin be spent on this game. And they've made it pretty clear that ApeCoin is also going to be used in the next couple of round of games. So, I'm not trading ApeCoin. I've been staking it. I've seen a very nice return on that in the last, it's been staking for not even 2 months now, but I've seen a nice return there. I'm just going to keep kind of compounding that, because I think that's how I want to play it long term. Is I just want as much ApeCoin as I can get. And, my cost basis on it was like $4.50. So it's at $5.93 right now, plus all that I've earned. So, I'm going to book that as a pretty nice win to start the year.
Man, ApeCoin, I like, obviously ApeCoin will be coming out. It'll be a year since it came out in March. And I was just looking at the price right now. I'm like, I remember back in like April, and it was like $25, $27. Like, right.
Oh, I remember too.
What a wonderful time to be alive. I mean, if you're able to pick some up at like $10, like I think I got in at like 12 or something like that. But looking at the prices now compared to where it was, and say we get a decent bull market after, all this plays out, this bear market, like that could be an extremely profitable, like long-term play.
Yeah. I think if you believe in Yuga, once other side, because other side, ApeCoin is going to be the currency of it. So I think really the bet is, it's very simple. If you believe that Yuga is going to do something cool with other side, you should buy ApeCoin and you should hold it. If you think that they aren't and that they're going to fall flat on their face, then you shouldn't buy, or you should find somewhere to short it. Like I don't short tokens. But if you see it start to run up and you're like, no, I don't believe in them, I think they're going to have a harder time. Because there's definitely a case to be made that other side isn't successful. Like, as much as I enjoy being a part of Yuga, I'm not blind to the fact that like it's still a tough road ahead. So if you have that thought of like, no, they're not going to do it, then wait for it to run up a bit. You'll probably have a really good opportunity to short it before other side goes live, because I gotta imagine people are going to be loading up on ApeCoin at that point.
Oh yeah, and I don't mean to be Jim Cramer here and tell you to buy Meta at the top or Coinbase at the top, but obviously when I look at these prices right now, and it's like, I wouldn't personally buy it. I'm not buying at this level. I still think that there's a huge dip in the entire market from stocks to crypto, but I'm looking at the levels, and the lowest we went was 261. Obviously, I retested that would be like my personal. That's where I probably get back in, but just having some exposure at some point, especially with how successful they've been. And I mean, like you said, it was 0.08 mint for BAYC, went all the way up to like 150 at the height of the bull market. I mean, having just a little bit of exposure, you don't know where some of this can go during a bull market. Bull markets are blow off tops. Like, they could absolutely rip.
Yeah.
I mean, it could falter too, but the chances of it, going to zero or anything like that, pretty low, it seems, considering how successful they've been. I'm not telling you to do anything, but yeah.
I'll give some of the bear case, and this is news that I wanted to touch on anyways, on the Yuga front, is that Wiley Arono, he goes by Gordon Goner, one of the founders of Bored Apes. He's actually stepping away for health reasons. He was diagnosed with congestive heart failure, which is a very scary situation. I hope he recovers. But, you are losing one of the founders right there. And not that he's like the next Steve Jobs or anything, but it is scary when you have a company and someone who founded it has to step away. So, I think that could be some concern there. At the same time, they've done a really great job of building out a strong team on the gaming side, which they've taken a lot of their attention. They're bringing on, he was never the CEO, or at least not recently. Like, they turned over the CEO position last year to Nicole. She's going to be stepping aside. She had a kid. They're bringing on the CEO of Activision. He'll be joining at the end of Q1. So they have a pretty strong team in place to withstand him stepping away. But it is something to keep in mind as well. Like, it's you don't know how a culture is going to change and how business is going to change when one of the founders of it steps away.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, throughout history, you can see that with just regular companies too. Once they leave, they try franchising out, then it just goes down the shitter. So definitely,
thankfully, there were 4 founders. Yeah, there were 4 founders. The other 3 are still there. I don't think they're going anywhere. Hopefully, he's able to come back once he has his health under control. But just hope that he's okay and that he comes back if he can. And if he doesn't, I think Yuga's in good hands still.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Anything else? I know that I'm more on the NFT side. It's been a pretty, outside of checks, things have been kind of slow. We go in these attention phases where right now crypto has been getting all the attention. ETH pumping, Bitcoin taking a nice run up, starting to pull back a little bit now. On the NFT side, we're still waiting on a lot of these higher tier projects like CloneX, Moonbirds, Azuki to put out the next phase of what they're developing. Part of me thinks that they're holding off until there's a lull with the Yuga news as well. Like, they don't want to battle Yuga for attention with the sewer pass stuff, Dookie Dash going on. So maybe they're going to wait until, there's a pause there before they announce anything big. CloneX did just have a burn for their space pods, and they're kind of continuing their storyline there. Market didn't react particularly favorably. Like, the prices stayed pretty flat on clones around 5 ETH, but that's really the only other things going on at this point. So it's been kind of a slow market. Volume has reflected that too on OpenSea. It's pulled back from highs of the last few weeks, and I think we're just kind of in a holding pattern, until people see what is crypto going to do, because the NFT market tends to do its best when crypto is range bound. And with this move up in crypto, I think people are a little more hesitant to spend their ETH, understandably, on the same way. So, I think right now but that being said, these are always opportunities also. If people are looking to sell, I've been throwing out like some wrapped ETH offers here and there. I had one accepted on a really cool Ranga that I like. This is definitely an opportunity. As people are more hesitant, if you have conviction and you can act on it, and you have the risk tolerance, there's definitely opportunities to be made here as other, zig when others are zagging, right? If most people are kind of in a holding pattern, they're trying to sell to accumulate ETH. If you are looking at this long term, you're not needing, this ETH money to pay the bills. There's definitely opportunities to, I've talked about it from the jump this year. Like, I want to accumulate ETH through NFT trading, and now is a time where you do the buying when everyone else is hesitant, and when ETH takes a bit of a drop, like Ace is saying right here, you can sell, accumulate more ETH, and kind of play the cycle that way. Like, that's kind of how I'm viewing it at this point.
Yeah, that's definitely, I think, the move. Again, you never want to buy an NFT with expensive ETH. You always want to take care of that stuff. It's nice and cheap. You're going to get the most bang for your buck. Obviously, your dollar's not going to work as hard. But I was going to ask a question. You answered it pretty much. I was going to say, do you think any of these companies are waiting for the market to make its move before they announce anything? Obviously, even though the market has moved and we're significantly up, we're kind of in this point where no one's really sure what's going to happen next. So
Yeah.
I was just wondering to see if they're like, okay, you know what, let's take 2-3 months off. We're not going to announce anything too significant just to make sure that this doesn't play out one way or the other. I was just curious to what your thoughts on that would have been.
Yeah, like I said, I think it's more due to their holding off until Yuga is a little less active, because we've seen it before where Yuga will go months without announcing anything. And I'm not going to say that these other businesses are afraid of competing with Yuga, but I think to an extent they kind of are. Like, they know that when everyone's looking at what's coming out with, Dookie Dash, the Sewer Pass, that storyline, there's not as much. It's an attention economy that we're in here in NFTs, and so if all the attention is there, it's going to pull away from what they can do. And so we did have like Doodles announced. Doodles launched Doodles 2 over on Flow blockchain this week. That's been received somewhat well. A little bit of negativity here and there, but it seems like they're trying to do what they can to onboard new people at a lower entry point compared to where Doodles are now. But yeah, I think that the combination of uncertainty in crypto as well as Yuga kind of hogging the attention economy is causing people to maybe pump the brakes a little bit on what they're pushing out.
Cool.
Yep. That's I think that's going to do it for today. So thank you everybody for watching. We'll be back next week. We'll be here on Monday talking about the crypto market. Just a quick update for those who like to watch our stock show. If you had bought Meta when Jim Cramer cried on TV, you would now be up 89.6%. That's pretty wild. If you had bought Tesla a little over a month ago, you'd be up about 91%. So, seems like totally reasonable and sustainable price action for these risk-on assets, right, Kevin?
Absolutely. It's up only, right? That's what everyone's saying on Twitter, so it's got to be true.
I can just see the steam coming out of Kevin's ears hearing the valuations on some of these things right now.
Oh, I can't wait for Monday. I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be everyone's going to be the gates of hell are going to open here on this show.
Okay. I personally cannot wait. So come back on Monday. We'll be going live the same time as this show, 12:30 Central Time. Going to be looking at the week ahead in the stock and crypto markets. Have an awesome weekend, everybody. If you're still here, appreciate you. Hit that like button, subscribe to our channel, share us out if you want to, pass some good, hopefully good NFT information on to other people here. Yeah, that's right. Kramer did call the bull run back, and Michael Burry deleted his account. So all is right with the world. So for Kevin, for the team at FLOLiO, I am Jeremy. Have an awesome weekend, everybody. We'll be back on Monday. Take it easy.
Thanks, everyone.